Captain Taeho Kim stood by the large window of his ship, the UES Resilience. The stars outside looked different here, so far from Earth. After 5 years of space travel, humans had finally joined the Galactic Confederation, a group of 17 advanced alien species. "Captain, we will dock at the Confederation hub in 10 minutes, said Commander Ji-eun Park. She was his first officer and the best tactical mind he had ever worked with. "Thank you, Ji-eun," said Taeho. "Is our team ready for the meeting?" "Yes, sir. Though I'm not sure why they called this emergency meeting so suddenly." Taeho nodded. The message had arrived just yesterday. All 17 species were to meet at once. That had never happened before. The Resilience was a diplomatic ship. Its job was to represent Earth and show the aliens that humans were worthy allies. Most of the older species still looked down on humans. They thought Earth people were too new to space travel, too simple compared to races that had explored the stars for thousands of years. "Whatever the emergency is," said Taeho, "we will show them that humans can help." The meeting room was huge. It had to be, to fit representatives from so many different worlds. Some aliens looked almost human. Others were so strange that Taeho still had trouble believing they were real. The Veldarians looked like tall blue frogs that walked on 2 legs. The Zith were living crystals that floated above the ground. Each species had its own seat at the round table. The human seat was the newest and plainest. At the center of the table stood High Chancellor Zol, a 6-armed alien with golden skin. As leader of the Confederation, all eyes turned to him when he raised his middle arms for silence. "Friends, allies, noble species of the galaxy," Zol began. "I have called you here because of a grave threat. The Mir Dominion has attacked 3 more worlds this month." The room filled with worried voices. Taeho looked at Ji-eun, who quickly typed on her tablet to bring up information about the Mir. "The reports are true," continued Zol. "They are using their hydro weapons again." This time the room did not just fill with voices. Some aliens cried out in fear. A Veldarian representative fell from his chair in what looked like a faint. "What are hydro weapons?" Taeho asked, leaning toward Gronak, the rock-like alien sitting next to him. Gronak turned slowly. His face was just tiny eyes in a mountain of stone. "You humans don't know? The Mir Dominion created weapons that pull water from living things. They remove all moisture from a body in seconds." "Like dehydration?" asked Ji-eun. "Worse," said Gronak. "It is not just dehydration. It is water extraction at the cellular level. Imagine all the water in your body being ripped out at once. The pain is—" He stopped, unable to continue. High Chancellor Zol called on representatives from each world to report their experiences. The stories were all terrible. The Veldarian who had fainted now spoke in a shaking voice. "The Mir attacked our colony on Veld 9. 10,000 of my people lived there. They were mostly scientists and farmers." He paused. "The hydro weapons turned them all to dust in minutes. Just dust. We are water-based life forms. Without water, we are nothing." A Sith representative floated forward. Its crystal body sparkled under the lights. "The Mir attacked our communication outpost. Our networks function through liquid transmission. The hydro weapons did not just kill our people, they destroyed our entire communication system for that sector." One by one, each species shared their horror stories. The Mir Dominion had been expanding across the galaxy for years. Wherever they went, they used their hydro weapons to crush all resistance. Finally, High Chancellor Zol turned to Taeho. "And what of Earth? Have the Mir approached your territory yet?" Taeho stood. He felt small compared to many of the aliens, but he kept his voice strong. "No, Chancellor, humans have not yet encountered the Mir directly, but we stand ready to help the Confederation in any way we can." A sound like laughter came from across the table. It was General Kur of the Dravex, a military species with red scales and 4 eyes. "What could humans possibly offer against the hydro weapons?" he asked. "Your species has barely mastered faster-than-light travel. You have no experience with the Mir." Taeho felt his face grow warm. Humans may be new to space, but we have faced many challenges on our world. We are adaptable. Adaptable? General Kur laughed again. The Mir do not care about adaptability. Their weapons work on all biology. All species need water. High Chancellor Zoll raised his arms again. General Kur, we must not dismiss any member of the Confederation. Though humans are new, they may yet prove valuable allies. Thank you, Chancellor, said Teho, but he could see many doubtful faces around the room. The meeting continued with plans for defense and evacuation of worlds in the Mir's path. Teho listened carefully and took notes, but he could feel the other aliens' lack of interest in human input. When there was a break, Jiun approached him with a data screen. Captain, I've been studying what little we know about the Mir. They're a humanoid species with gray skin. They always wear breathing apparatus outside their ships. Do we know why? Asked Teho. No, but she was interrupted by an alarm that made everyone jump. Red lights flashed around the room and a voice spoke in the universal language used by all Confederation species. Alert. Unknown vessels approaching. Alert. Energy signatures match Meyer Dominion warships, all representatives to emergency stations. Chaos broke out in the meeting room. Aliens rushed toward different exits. Some called to their ships. Others tried to contact their homeworlds. High Chancellor Zoll's voice boomed above the noise. All ships prepare for emergency departure. Defensive. Systems activate. This is not a drill. Teho grabbed his communicator. Resilience, this is Captain Kim. Prepare for immediate evacuation of our team. The response came through with static. Captain, we have a problem. The docking clamps won't release. Something's jammed the system. Ji-un looked at the windows, where the blackness of space was now filled with massive ships. They were unlike any vessels Teho had seen before, huge black structures that seemed to absorb the light around them. The Mir, whispered an alien nearby. They found the Confederation hub. How is that possible? Security Chief Hyunwoo Lee rushed to Teho's side. Captain, we need to move. The Mir ships are deploying smaller vessels. They look like landing craft. Teho watched as dozens of small black ships broke away from the larger ones. They moved with incredible speed toward the Confederation hub. They're going to board us, said Jiun. Through the windows, they could see the first explosions as some Confederation ships tried to flee. The Mir weapons cut through their defenses like they weren't even there. High Chancellor Zoll appeared beside them. For the first time, the golden alien looked afraid. Captain Kim, your ship cannot leave? No, Chancellor. We're stuck here. Zoll nodded grimly. Then we must prepare for the worst. The Mir are coming, and they bring their hydro weapons with them. As if to confirm his words, a massive explosion shook the entire hub. The lights flickered and emergency systems activated. The invasion of the Confederation hub had begun, and Captain Teho Kim, along with his human crew, was about to face the most feared weapons in the galaxy. The lights in the Confederation hub flickered again as another explosion rocked the massive space station. Captain Teho Kim grabbed the wall to stay on his feet. All around him, aliens ran in panic. We need to get to a safer area, said Commander Ji-Yoon Park. Her hand rested on her sidearm, a standard-issue laser pistol. It seemed small compared to the threat they now faced. Security Chief Hyunwoo Lee pointed down a corridor. This way, Captain. The central hub has better defenses. The three humans moved quickly through the chaos. Some aliens pushed past them, desperate to reach escape pods. Others stood frozen in fear. The Mir were no longer just a scary story. They were here. Through the large windows, they could see more Mir ships arriving. The black vessels surrounded the space station like hungry predators. Look, said Ji-un, pointing at a nearby docking port. They're cutting through the doors. A bright red line appeared around the edge of an airlock. The metal glowed and then began to melt. The Mir were forcing their way in. Move faster, ordered Teho. They were still too close to the breach point. They turned a corner and found themselves in a wide hallway. Confederation security forces had taken positions there, weapons ready. The security team was made up of different alien species, all wearing the silver uniforms of the Confederation. Get behind us, called one officer, a tall blue Veldarian. We'll hold them here. Tae-ho and his team joined a group of civilian representatives, who huddled behind the security line. The High Chancellor was there speaking urgently into a communication device. "How many ships have escaped?" Tae-ho asked him. "Not enough," said Zol. His golden skin had lost some of its shine. "The Mir attacked too quickly. Many are still trapped." A loud bang echoed through the corridor. Everyone turned to look at the far door. Another bang followed, then another. Something was hitting the door from the other side. "They're coming through," said Hyunwoo. He drew his own weapon and stood ready. The security team raised their weapons. The Veldarian officer gave a final order: aim for their breathing apparatus. It's their weakness. With a screech of tearing metal, the door burst open. Smoke poured into the hallway. Then, stepping through the smoke, came the Mir. They were tall, nearly 7 feet high. Their skin was gray and looked rough, like stone. Each wore a complex breathing mask that covered most of their face, with tubes running to tanks on their backs. Their eyes glowed red behind clear visors. But what caught everyone's attention were the weapons they carried. Each Mir soldier held what looked like a rifle, but with a large transparent chamber attached to the top. The chambers were empty now, but ready to be filled. "Hydro weapons," whispered someone in the crowd. Several aliens began to back away. The Confederation security team opened fire. Laser beams struck the first line of Mir soldiers. Some fell, but most kept coming. Then the Mir raised their weapons and fired back. There was no beam, no visible shot. But the effect was immediate and horrifying. A security officer screamed as his body seemed to shrivel before their eyes. His skin wrinkled and tightened over his bones. In seconds, he collapsed to the floor, his body dried like an ancient mummy. The transparent chambers on the Mir weapons began to fill with blue-tinted liquid. More security officers fell. Some tried to run, but the Mir weapons had good range. Wherever they fired, living beings turned to dried husks. "Fall back," shouted the Veldarian officer. "Everyone to the emergency shelters." The crowd turned and ran. Tae-ho, Ji-eun, and Hyunwoo moved with them, helping those who stumbled. Behind them, the sounds of battle grew fainter as more defenders fell. They reached a large doorway that led to the central part of the station. People pushed to get through. As Tae-ho helped an elderly alien across the threshold, he heard Ji-eun shout, "Captain, they're coming." Down the corridor, a new group of Mir soldiers had appeared. They moved with machine-like precision, their weapons ready. "Get inside," Tae-ho yelled to the crowd. "Seal the door." The last few people rushed through. Ji-eun and Hyunwoo provided covering fire, their laser pistols flashing. One Mir soldier fell, then another, but the Mir returned fire. A blast from a hydro weapon missed Ji-eun by inches and hit the wall behind her. The metal surface instantly became bone dry, all moisture extracted. "Now!" Tae-ho shouted. His team backed through the doorway. The heavy security door began to close. Just as it was about to seal, a final shot from a Mir weapon slipped through the gap. Hyunwoo cried out in pain. The edge of the beam had caught his left arm. Before their eyes, his sleeve and the skin beneath it began to shrivel. "Hyunwoo!" Ji-eun grabbed him as he fell to his knees. The door sealed with a heavy thud, for now they were safe from the Mir. But Hyunwoo's arm was turning gray and dry, the effect spreading slowly up from his wrist. "We need medical help," Tae-ho called out. But the central hub was in chaos. Aliens ran in all directions. Some tried to reach communication stations, others looked for weapons or hiding places. "This way," said Ji-eun, pointing to a small side corridor. "There might be a first aid station." They half-carried Hyunwoo down the corridor, away from the main crowd. His breathing was labored, his face pale with pain. "It burns," he gasped, "like my arm is on fire from the inside." The corridor ended at a storage room. It wasn't a medical bay, but it was empty and quiet. They helped Hyunwoo sit against a wall. "We need to stop this spreading," said Ji-eun, examining his arm. The skin had turned dark and papery up to his elbow. Tae-ho looked around the room for anything useful. There were tools, spare parts, and several containers of supplies, but nothing obviously medical. A loud boom shook the station. The lights flickered again. "They're breaking through more." "Entry points," said Tae-ho. This station wasn't built for defense, it won't hold them for long. Ji-un found a small panel on the wall. It's a communication terminal. Maybe we can call for help. She activated it and tried several channels. Most returned only static, but then a voice broke through, speaking in Earth's language. This is Admiral Min-Soo Kang of the Earth Defense Fleet. Any human personnel on the Confederation hub, please respond. Admiral, Ji-un said quickly. This is Commander Park from the UES Resilience. We're trapped on the station with Captain Kim and Security Chief Lee. The Mir have boarded and are using hydro weapons. Commander, we've just arrived at the edge of the system, came the reply. We're coordinating with other Confederation ships for a rescue operation, but it will take time to break through the Mir blockade. How much time? Asked Taeho. 6 hours at minimum. Can you hold out? Before Taeho could answer, a new sound reached them, the harsh grinding of metal on metal. It was coming from the door to the storage room. They've found us, whispered Hyunwoo, his face pale. The Mir were cutting through. The sound of metal cutting through metal grew louder. Captain Taeho Kim looked around the storage room for anything they could use as a weapon or barricade. Admiral Kang, we've got Mir soldiers breaking through our door right now, Taeho said, into the communicator. We may not have 6 hours. Understood, Captain, came the reply. We'll try to speed up the rescue. Hold out as long as you can. The communication ended. Taeho turned to his officers. Ji-un was helping Hyunwoo, whose arm was now completely gray up to his shoulder. His face was pale with pain, but he still managed to stand. We need a plan, said Ji-un. There's no other way out of this room. Taeho nodded. I know. He looked at the supplies around them. There were tools, spare parts for station repairs, and several boxes labeled in different alien languages. What are these? He asked, pointing to a cabinet near the back of the room. Ji-un moved to check it. It looks like drinks? There are bottles and containers of liquids. This must be where they store refreshments for diplomatic meetings, said Hyunwoo through gritted teeth. Ji-un opened the cabinet. Inside were dozens of containers in strange shapes. Each was labeled with the name of a different world. She reached in and pulled out a few that had Earth writing on them. Water, coffee, and she held up a small flask. Whiskey? Someone brought whiskey to space? Probably a gift from the Earth delegation, said Taeho. The cutting sound at the door was now halfway around the frame. Not much use to us now. Hyunwoo slumped against the wall. His breathing labored. Captain, you and Commander Park should try to hide. Maybe I can distract them when they come in. We're not leaving you, said Ji-un firmly. Taeho stared at the door, then at the drinks in Ji-un's hands. A crazy idea began to form in his mind. Humans have always survived by doing the unexpected, he said slowly. It's what got us into the Confederation despite being years behind the other species in technology. What are you thinking? Asked Ji-un. I'm thinking we need to surprise them. Taeho looked at the cutting line on the door. It was nearly 3/4 complete. When they break through, we don't hide or surrender. Then what do we do? Asked Hyunwoo. We attack. Ji-un looked at him like he was crazy. Attack? With what? Our pistols barely slow them down, and they have those hydro weapons. Exactly, said Taeho. They have hydro weapons. He moved closer to his officers and lowered his voice. Did you notice the blue liquid in those transparent chambers on their guns? That's the water they extract from their victims. So? Asked Ji-un. So, why store it? Why not just extract the water and let it evaporate? Before Ji-un could answer, the cutting stopped. A moment of silence followed, then a loud bang as the Mir began to push the door inward. Get ready, said Taeho. Ji-un, you go left. I'll go right. Hyunwoo, stay back if you can. They positioned themselves on either side of the door. Ji-un held her pistol ready. Taeho picked up a heavy metal tool that could serve as a club. With fight baseline, a final crash, the door fell into the room. Smoke poured in, followed by 3 Mir soldiers. Their red eyes glowed through their breathing masks as they scanned the room. Now, shouted Taeho. Instead of retreating or firing from a distance, the humans charged forward. The unexpected move caught the Mir by surprise. Ji-un fired her pistol at the first soldier's mask, cracking the visor. Tae-ho swung his improvised club at the second Mir, knocking its weapon aside. The third Mir raised its hydro weapon and fired at Hyun-woo, who had no choice but to dive to the side despite his injured arm. The beam missed him by inches. As Tae-ho grappled with the second Mir, he found himself face to face with the alien. Through the clear visor, he could see gray skin and eyes filled with surprise. The Mir clearly hadn't expected physical resistance. With a quick move, Tae-ho grabbed the hydro weapon and wrenched it from the alien's grasp. He jumped back, now holding the strange gun. More Mir soldiers appeared at the doorway. Ji-un was still wrestling with the first soldier, and Hyun-woo had managed to kick the third one's legs out from under it. Tae-ho examined the weapon in his hands. Up close, he could see that the transparent chamber was filled about halfway with a glowing blue liquid. There was a simple latch on the side of the chamber. Without stopping to think about the consequences, Tae-ho detached the chamber from the weapon. The Mir all froze. Even through their masks, Tae-ho could sense their shock. One of them made a harsh sound and pointed at the chamber in Tae-ho's hand. "I think you've upset them, Captain," said Ji-un, who had managed to knock her opponent unconscious. The Mir at the door raised their weapons. But before they could fire, Tae-ho did something that seemed to shock them even more. He drank the blue liquid from the chamber. The effect was immediate, but not what he expected. Instead of pain, Tae-ho felt a rush of energy flow through his body. The liquid was cool and slightly sweet, with a tang like sports drinks from Earth. It went down easily, and as it did, he felt stronger, more alert. "Captain," cried Ji-un in horror. Tae-ho grinned at her. "It's not poison, Ji-un, it's—" He paused, searching for the right word. "It's like the best water I've ever tasted." The Mir soldiers began talking rapidly to each other in their own language. Their shock was clear, even though the humans couldn't understand their words. More Mir pushed into the room. One fired its weapon at Tae-ho. The beam hit him in the chest, and he felt a strange pulling sensation, as if the moisture in his skin was trying to leave his body. But the effect was mild compared to what they had seen happen to others. "Their weapons don't work well on us," Tae-ho realized aloud. Ji-un looked at the fallen Mir soldier beside her. Its hydro weapon lay on the floor, the chamber half full of blue liquid. With a quick move, she detached the chamber and held it up. "Drink it," urged Tae-ho. "Trust me." Ji-un hesitated only a moment, then swallowed the contents of the chamber. Her eyes widened in surprise. "It's good," she said, "and I feel stronger." Hyun-woo, still nursing his injured arm, managed to grab another weapon from a fallen Mir. He detached its chamber and drank as well. Color immediately returned to his face. "My arm," he said in amazement. "The pain is less." The Mir soldiers were now backing toward the door, their weapons still raised but their movements uncertain. The humans had done something impossible. They had consumed the extracted water and not only survived but seemed better for it. Tae-ho picked up a hydro weapon and pointed it at the Mir. "I think it's time we turned your weapons against you." The Mir in front made a sound that might have been fear. Then, to the humans' surprise, the aliens turned and retreated from the room. "They're running away," said Ji-un in disbelief. Tae-ho examined the weapon in his hands. "It makes sense now. These aren't weapons, not really. They're harvesting devices." "Harvesting what?" asked Hyun-woo. "Water," said Tae-ho. "But not just any water. The extraction process must concentrate the minerals and electrolytes. For other species, having their water suddenly pulled out is fatal. But for humans, it's like the ultimate hydration drink," finished Ji-un. "And they never expected anyone to actually drink it." Tae-ho nodded. "Exactly. And now we have an advantage they never saw coming." He activated the communicator again. "Admiral Kang, this is Captain Kim. We've discovered something about the hydro weapons, something that might change everything." Admiral Min-soo Kang stood on the bridge of his ship, the EDS Courage. Through the main window he could see the Confederation hub in the distance. It was surrounded by Mir ships, their black hulls absorbing the light of the nearby star. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from Captain Kim," said his communications officer. "Put him through," ordered Kang. Captain Taeho's voice came through the speakers. "Admiral Kang, this is Captain Kim. We've discovered something about the hydro weapons, something that might change everything." Kang leaned forward. "Go on, Captain. The weapons don't harm humans the same way they harm other species," explained Taeho. "And the water they extract, we can drink it. It actually makes us stronger." There was silence on the bridge. The officers looked at each other in disbelief. "You're saying you drank the liquid from a hydro weapon?" asked Kang finally. "Yes, sir. All three of us did. The Mir were so shocked they retreated. I think they've never seen anyone do this before," Kang thought quickly. If what Taeho said was true, it could change the entire situation. "Can you hold your position?" "For now," replied Taeho. "But there are still many Mir on the station. They're rounding up the other species." "Understood. I have a plan, but I need time to organize it. Stay safe, Captain." Kang turned to his officers. "Contact all human ships in the area. I want every available Marine ready for deployment, and find me someone who knows the layout of that station." Back on the Confederation hub, Taeho, Jiun, and Hyunwoo had barricaded the doorway to their room. Hyunwoo's arm was still damaged from the hydro weapon, but the pain had lessened after he drank from one of the chambers. "What do we do now?" asked Jiun. She was examining one of the hydro weapons they had captured. "We can't stay here forever. We need to find out what the Mir are planning," said Taeho, "and maybe help any survivors." Hyunwoo checked the small terminal on the wall. "I've been monitoring the station's internal communications. The Mir have taken control of the main sections, but there are still pockets of resistance. Can you get a map of the station?" asked Taeho. Hyunwoo tapped at the controls. A holographic display appeared, showing the layout of the Confederation hub. Various areas were marked in red. "The red zones are under Mir control," explained Hyunwoo. "They seem to be focusing on the Environmental Control Center." "Why there?" wondered Jiun. "I don't know," said Taeho. "But if we're going to move, we need more of that blue liquid. It gives us an edge." Jiun pointed to the hydro weapons they had taken. "We have 3, and each chamber is about half full." "Not enough," said Taeho. "We need to get more from the Mir." Hyunwoo looked up from the terminal. "I have an idea. The Mir are gathering prisoners in the main conference hall. If we can get there, we might find more weapons to take." Taeho nodded. "That's our first stop then. Let's go." They carefully removed the barricade and checked the corridor outside. It was empty for now. With Taeho in the lead, they moved silently through the station, using the map from Hyunwoo to avoid Mir patrols. As they got closer to the conference hall, they began to hear voices. The different languages of the Confederation species, all filled with fear. They peered around a corner and saw 2 Mir guards standing at the entrance to the hall. Inside, dozens of aliens were being held prisoner. "We need a distraction," whispered Jiun. Taeho looked around and spotted a control panel on the wall. "Hyunwoo, can you access the station systems from here?" Hyunwoo moved to the panel and studied it. "I think so. What do you need?" "Shut down the lights in this section." Hyunwoo worked at the panel for a minute, then nodded. "Ready?" "On my mark," said Taeho. He gripped his hydro weapon. 3, 2, 1, now." The lights went out, plunging the corridor into darkness. The Mir guards looked around in confusion. Before they could react, Taeho and Ji-eun rushed forward. They had the advantage of surprise, and within seconds, both guards were unconscious. "Quick, take their weapons," said Taeho. Ji-eun grabbed the hydro weapons and detached the chambers. Each was nearly full of the blue liquid. "Drink up," said Taeho, taking one of the chambers. They each swallowed the contents of a chamber. Again, Taeho felt the rush of energy and clarity. It was like his senses were sharper, his muscles stronger. "The effect is even stronger with a full dose," said Ji-eun, flexing her hand. They entered the conference hall, and the aliens inside backed away in fear at first, thinking they were Mir. But when they recognized the humans, a murmur of surprise ran through the crowd. "It's the Earth delegation," said a voice. High Chancellor Zoll pushed his way forward. His golden skin was dull with stress, but his eyes widened when he saw the humans holding hydro weapons. "How are you not affected by those, he asked. "It's complicated," said Tejo, "but we're here to help. What are the Mir planning?" Zoll looked around nervously. "They're using the hub as a base to attack the Confederation capital world. The Environmental Control Center can be modified to create a massive hydro weapon, one that could extract water from an entire planet's atmosphere. That's why they focused on taking that section," realized Ji-un. At that moment, Tejo's communicator beeped. "Captain Kim, this is Admiral Kang. We're launching our operation now. Are you ready?" "What operation?" asked Tejo. "I'm sending in teams of human marines," explained Kang. "Based on what you discovered, we've equipped them with containers to capture and use the hydroweapon liquid. They'll be entering the station at multiple points in 5 minutes. Tejo looked at Jion and Hyunwoo. "We need to help them, and we need to stop whatever the Mir are doing in the Environmental Control Center." "I'll free the prisoners here," said Hyunwoo. Despite his injured arm, he looked determined. "Some of them know how to fight. We can create a diversion." "I'll go with you to the control center," said Ji-un to Tejo. Tejo nodded. "Admiral, we'll coordinate with your teams. Our primary target is the Environmental Control Center. The Mir are trying to turn it into a planet killer." "Understood," said Kang. "Good luck, Captain." As they prepared to leave, High Chancellor Zoll touched Tejo's arm. "I was wrong about humans," he said quietly. "We all were. Your species may be young, but you have strengths we never imagined." Tejo smiled. "We're about to show the Mir exactly what humans can do." 5 minutes later, the station shook as multiple breaching pods attached to the outer hull. Human marines poured in, each carrying empty containers. As they encountered Mir soldiers, they followed their new orders: capture the hydro weapons, drink the blue liquid, and use the weapons against their creators. The Mir, completely unprepared for enemies who were immune to their most feared weapon, began to fall back in confusion. Tejo and Ji-un fought their way toward the Environmental Control Center. With each Mir they encountered, they grew stronger as they consumed more of the blue liquid. "The Mir commander must be at the control center," said Ji-un as they approached the final corridor. "This ends now." Tejo nodded, his hydro weapon ready. "Let's introduce them to the one thing they never expected: humans who don't fear water weapons." They charged forward, ready to confront the leader of the invasion and end the Mir threat once and for all. The doors to the Environmental Control Center were massive and sealed tight. Captain Tejo Kim and Commander Ji-un Park stood before them, hydro weapons in hand. Behind them, the sounds of battle echoed through the Confederation hub as human Marines fought against the Mir soldiers. "How do we get in?" asked Ji-un, examining the heavy door. Tejo touched his communicator. "Admiral Kang, we need help opening the main doors to the Environmental Control Center." "Stand by, Captain," came the reply. "I'm sending a technical team your way." While they waited, Tejo and Ji-un drank more of the blue liquid from the hydro weapon chambers they had collected. Each time they consumed it, they felt stronger. The effect was temporary but powerful. "I wonder why this affects us so differently," said Ji-un, flexing her fingers as new energy flowed through her. "Humans evolved on a planet where water was sometimes scarce," said Tejo. "Our bodies learned to conserve water, to function even when partly dehydrated. These weapons were designed for species that never developed that ability." "And the liquid itself is like a supercharged sports drink," added Ji-un. "All the minerals and electrolytes concentrated in one shot." A group of human marines arrived, led by a technical specialist who immediately began working on the door controls. "Captain, we've cleared most of the station," reported the Marine sergeant. "The Mir didn't expect us to be immune to their weapons. Many have surrendered." "Good work," said Tejo. "But their leader is inside this room and they're planning something big." The technical specialist looked up from the control panel. "Got it, Captain. The door will open in 3, 2, 1. With a hiss of hydraulics, the massive doors began to slide apart. Tejo and Ji-un raised their weapons and moved forward, followed by the Marines. The Environmental Control Center was a vast room filled with complex machinery. At its heart was a massive, transparent sphere, the main atmospheric processor for the station. But the Mir had modified it. Now, glowing tubes connected it to what looked like a giant version of a hydro weapon, pointed at a viewing window that faced the nearby Confederation capital world. Standing before the controls was a Mir larger than any they had seen before. Its breathing mask was more elaborate, decorated with symbols of rank. "That must be their commander," whispered Ji-un. The Mir commander turned as they entered. Its red eyes narrowed behind its visor. "Humans," it said in a harsh mechanical voice. The translator in Tai-Ho's ear converted the Mir language. "The water drinkers. You should not be here." "We're stopping whatever you're planning," said Tai-Ho, stepping forward. "Surrender now." The Mir commander made a sound that might have been laughter. "You think you understand, but you do not. This is not about conquest. This is about survival." "Survival doesn't require attacking innocent worlds," said Ji-un. "Doesn't it?" The commander gestured to the giant weapon. "My world is dying. The Mir need water to live, more than any species in the galaxy. Our home planet is in drought. We have been for 100 years. Tai-Ho kept his weapon raised, but he was listening. "So you steal water from other worlds, from other people? We take what we need to survive," said the commander. Its voice was firm but not angry. "The Confederation refused to help us. They said our need was too great, that helping us would harm their own worlds." "So you built weapons to take by force," said Ji-un. "We built tools to harvest what we need," corrected the commander. "That they cause pain, that they kill. This was not our first intention, but we had no choice." For a moment there was silence in the control room. Tai-Ho thought about Earth's history, about water wars and droughts. Humans understood water, scarcity better than most species. "There's always a choice," said Tai-Ho finally, "and this isn't the right one." He nodded to the Marines, who moved to surround the Mir commander. But before they could reach it, the commander pressed a button on the control panel. The giant hydro weapon began to hum, its chamber starting to glow. "Stop!" shouted Tai-Ho. "It is too late," said the commander. "The process has begun. Soon we will have enough water for my people to survive another year." Ji-un rushed to the control panel, trying to find a way to shut down the weapon. "I can't." "Stop it," she said. "The controls are locked." Tai-Ho looked at the weapon, then at the chambers designed to collect the water. An idea formed in his mind. "We don't need to stop it," he said. "We need to redirect it." He turned to the Marines. "Help me disconnect those collection chambers, quick." The Marines moved fast, using tools to detach the massive transparent containers that would hold the extracted water. "What are you doing?" demanded the Mir commander. "Finding a better way," said Tai-Ho. "One that doesn't involve killing millions." As the last chamber was detached, the weapon began to shake. Without the chambers to collect the extracted water, it had nowhere to send the energy it was building. "It's going to overload," said Ji-un. "Everyone out," ordered Tai-Ho. The Marines began to retreat toward the door, taking the Mir commander with them. Tai-Ho and Ji-un stayed at the controls, trying to contain the damage. If the weapon exploded, it could destroy the entire station. "Captain, your communicator is beeping," said Ji-un. Tai-Ho activated it. "This is Kim." "Captain, this is Admiral Kang. The Confederation fleet has arrived. They've brought engineers, who might be able to help." "Send them in fast," said Tai-Ho. "We have an overloading hydro weapon." Within minutes, Confederation engineers rushed into the control room. They worked alongside Tai-Ho and Ji-un, and together they managed to safely shut down the weapon before it could explode. 1 month later, Captain Tai-Ho Kim stood in the rebuilt conference hall of the Confederation hub. Beside him were Ji-un, Hyunwoo, his arm now healed, and Admiral Kang. Across from them stood the Mir commander, now without its breathing mask in the specially humidified section of the room. High Chancellor Zoll addressed the gathered representatives of all species, including the Mir. "Today marks a historic moment," said Zoll. For the first time, the Mir Dominion will join the Galactic Confederation as allies, not enemies. There were murmurs from the crowd, but no one objected. The events of the past month had changed many minds. After the battle for the hub, Earth scientists had studied the hydroweapons and the Mir biology. They discovered that the Mir truly did need massive amounts of water to survive. Their bodies were mostly liquid, contained within a thin shell of gray skin. Their home planet's climate had changed over centuries, leaving them desperate. The Earth delegation has proposed a solution, continued Zoll. Using their experience with water conservation and atmospheric extraction, they will help the Mir build sustainable water collection systems. In return, the Mir will share their advanced technology with the Confederation. Ambassador Yeonmi Choi, Earth's diplomatic representative, stepped forward. Humans understand water scarcity. We fought our own water wars before we learned better ways. We don't need to be enemies when we can help each other. The Mir commander inclined its head. My people thank you. For centuries we thought the only way to survive was to take from others. You have shown us another path. After the ceremony, Tae-ho found himself standing next to the Mir commander. Your people are strange, said the commander. When faced with our most feared weapon, you drank it. Only humans would try such a thing. Tae-ho smiled. Sometimes the most dangerous thing can become the most helpful if you look at it differently. The commander held out a small container filled with the blue liquid that had once powered their weapons. A gift. What you call space Gatorade, I believe. Though we no longer use it as a weapon, it is still an excellent hydration solution. Tae-ho accepted the container with a nod. To peace and understanding, he took a drink, and for the first time, the Mir commander did the same. Throughout the Confederation, a new saying began to spread. If you want to solve an impossible problem, ask a human to drink it first.